Good evening, everyone. My name is Aaron Tuckfield. I'm the chairman of the Macomb Township Zoning Board of Appeals. I'm calling this regularly scheduled meeting to order on Thursday, February the 5th at 6:30 p.m. Item 2 on our agenda this evening is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand with me for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item 3 on the agenda is the roll call. Mr. DeBruin, please call the roll.
Mr. Piper?
Here.
Mr. Mazzara?
Here.
Mr. DeBruin is here. Mr. Tuckfield?
Here.
Mr. Gomikia?
Here.
5 members.
All right, just a brief note this evening that we are operating with 4 regular members and 1 alternate member. This does not change any of the voting requirements tonight. Any motion requires 3 votes to pass, but just a piece of housekeeping for anyone in the audience. Item 4 on our agenda is to address any conflicts of interest. At this time, I'm going to have Mr. DeBruin again call the roll. If any member has a conflict with either of our items this evening, they indicate by saying yes, and then we would address that at the item. And if they have no conflict, indicate it by saying no. Mr. DeBruin, please call the roll.
I have none. Mr. Gomikia?
No.
Mr. Mazzara?
No.
Mr. Piper?
No.
Mr. Tuckfield?
No. All right, noting that there's no conflicts of interest on the agenda this evening, we will move on to the approval of tonight's agenda. Item 5, is there any motions on the approval of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Mr. Mazzara, is there support?
I'll support the motion.
Supported by Mr. Piper. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by saying nay. That motion carries and this evening's agenda is adopted. Item 6 is the previous meeting minutes approval. That would be the minutes for our last meeting on Thursday, January the 8th. Is there any discussion or motions on this item?
Mr. Chairman, if there are no corrections, I would make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Motion by Mr. Piper to approve the minutes as presented.
Support.
Supported by Mr. DeBruin. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by saying nay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll abstain from this vote.
Very good. That will be 4 approvals and 1 abstention for the record. That item passes. Item 7 is old business. We have no old business this evening, so I'll move us on to item 8, which is new business. The first item within 8 is 8A. This is with regards to a sign exception for permanent parcel 0806-200-050. This would be the southwest corner of 26 Mile and Romeo Plank. And I may butcher the names, my apologies, but Yusuf El-Sayeh is the petitioner. Mr. Box, could you take us through this, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. So this, as you mentioned, this is on 26 Mile. This is at the corner of 26 and Romeo Plank. This has to do with Tim Hortons. You may recall they were in front of you this past fall. They previously had this same Tim Hortons sign as well as a maple leaf sign along with it. They have removed the maple leaf and they are back again. The Tim Hortons sign is 3.88 square feet over the maximum 16 square foot allowed. And again, the sign has already been installed. So looking at the signs and sign regulations, relief may be granted without substantially impairing the intent of the said chapter. I'm going to go through some of that criteria for sign exceptions. And just to go over again, you see the picture there. That was the sign that they previously had up. The maple leaf with the word Tim's has been removed now. They're seeking to just keep the language Tim Hortons. And again, it is 3.88 square feet over the required maximum of 16 square feet. So again, there are 3 exception standards for signs, for sign exceptions to review. I'm going to go over those. ZBA shall consider the following standards while reviewing any application for an exception, and they need to meet 1 or more of the provisions of this chapter to be granted such a sign exception. First one being obstructions. Construction of a conforming sign would obstruct the vision of motorists or otherwise endanger public health and safety. So obviously construction of a conforming sign would not obstruct the vision of motorists or otherwise endanger the public health and safety of those in the surrounding areas, nor those visiting the subject site. Visibility, a conforming sign would be blocked from the site of passing motorists due to existing buildings, trees, or other obstructions. So when you look at the existing conditions there, again, this is a picture from this past fall, but it's the same sign in roughly the same location. Staff feels that a conforming sign would still be able to be seen. Again, you can see from this picture that there's nothing obstructing it from the other side of Romeo Plank at least. And a few slides later, you're going to see some pictures from 26 Mile as well. The subject property does have a sign on the front facing on 26 Mile Road that is 30.64 square feet. They have a cabinet sign within the existing mobile pylon sign, and they have some feather signs as well out along 26 Mile Road that do give them ample visibility. And then lastly, site features. Construction of a conforming sign would require removal or severe alteration to significant features on the site, such as removal of trees or alteration of natural instruction of, or alteration or demolition of significant historical features or site amenities. So again, there's no trees that would prevent them from having a conforming sign or any other structures on the site that would prevent them from having a conforming sign. Scale, a sign that exceeds the allowable height or area standards of this chapter would be more appropriate in scale because of the large size or frontage of the premises or building. The proposed sign does exceed, as I mentioned before, but they also do have a large sign on the 26 Mile roadway. The Tim Hortons is 50 feet long, facing Romeo Plank Road. The tenant space is in addition to the existing mobile gas station. The side of the Tim Hortons that faces Romeo Plank may be difficult to see due to the existing fully grown landscaping within the required landscape buffer along Romeo Plank. The location of the sign is appropriate, though, due to the location of the existing windows and location of the drive-through window. Again, however, due to the compliant front wall signage from Tim Hortons, the cabinet sign within the existing pylon sign, and the hard corner 26 Romeo Plank, and the directional signage at the entrances, again, staff does feel that they do have the right scale. Should they have a conforming sign, would be the right scale. Aesthetics. The exception shall not adversely impact the character or appearance of the building or lot of the neighborhood. We do not feel that the exception requested would adversely affect the character or appearance of the area in which the sign is installed. However, approving the sign exception may go beyond the intent of the sign chapter due to the other existing front wall sign, pylon sign, directional signage, as well as the temporary feather signage along 26 Mile and Romeo Plank. And minimal, the exception shall be the minimum necessary to allow reasonable use, visibility, or readability of the sign. Again, they're limited to 16 square feet maximum. What they're seeking now is 3.88 additional square feet. The question to the ZBA would that be the minimum? But again, the applicant has decided to pursue the sign exception because the sign is already up. They've already paid for the sign. They already have the sign. So they're seeking 3.88. Staff's opinion is that the minimum would be what meets the ordinance. There is no need for a larger sign. We feel that there is visibility, and that minimum is what would meet the ordinance. And then lastly, intent of this chapter. The exception shall not substantially impair the intent and purpose of this chapter. The intent of the signs and sign regulation ordinance is to allow visibility for business or development while minimizing harmful effects and protecting the public health, safety, and welfare and aesthetic beauty of the township. The requested exception would improve the visibility for the business due to the existing landscaping along Romeo Plank Road that buffers the length of Romeo Plank. However, approving the sign exception may go beyond the intent of this chapter due to the existing front wall sign, pylon sign, directional signage, and temporary feather signage. So you can see some pictures here. They have ample signage all over the site. We feel that they do have visibility. They are meeting the intent of the ordinance to have visibility. So again, some findings of fact that the planning department has come up with regards to obstruction. A conforming sign may be difficult to view for passing traffic due to the existing landscaping. However, the subject site has other compliant signage on site, including the front wall sign, the pylon sign, and directional signage. Regarding visibility, a conforming sign may be difficult to view for passing traffic due to the existing landscaping along Romeo Plank Road. However, the subject site has other compliant signage. Regarding site features, there are no site features other than the existing required landscaping on the site that would obstruct the view of the sign. Removal of any landscaping would bring the site out of compliance with the current approved site plan on file. Scale, the proposed sign exceeds the allowable minimum size due to the other compliant signage on the front wall, and again, in the pylon and directional signage. It negates the proper reasoning to permit a side wall sign over the maximum allowable size. With regards to aesthetics, staff does not anticipate that these exceptions requested would adversely affect the appearance of the area. And regarding minimum, request does not appear to be the minimum necessary to effectively communicate the presence of the business. Previously, the applicant had requested a sign exception that had two items, one being a Leaf logo and one being a Tim Hortons logo. If the applicant were to have pursued the Leaf logo, a sign exception would not be necessary. That sign would have met the ordinance, but by keeping the Tim Hortons instead of keeping the Maple Leaf, they are seeking the sign exception. And regarding intent, again, the intent is to allow them visibility without having harmful effects. The requested exceptions would improve their visibility, certainly, but approving the sign exception may go beyond the intent of this chapter due to the existing compliant signage on the other sides of the building, as well as the pylon sign again. So we did have all the departments look at this. Fire had no concerns with the request. Public Works had no comments. Engineering said that there were no objections to the request as submitted. Building Department has reviewed and the reference sign exception and has no objections. And again, planning staff does not object to the location of the sign, but does not feel the size is necessary. Staff would defer to the applicant to explain why an exception is necessary.
All right, thank you, Mr. Box. Is there any questions from the board for Mr. Box?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mr. Demichia.
Josh, when we're doing the calculations, it's for their piece of the building only, or for
Correct.
the entire building?
Their piece, that's correct.
Is there 3.88 feet from the landlord space or the main space that could be used in this space, or no?
I guess I'm not following.
If the mobile was under in their signage by 10 feet, could that be applied here?
No, that's not how the sign ordinance works, no.
Okay,
It cannot be transferred.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, if the applicant is in the audience, if you would come forward, state your name and address for the record. You're welcome to either stand or sit. We're not quite used to this piece of furniture yet, so whatever is more comfortable for you. But please just give your name for the record and any comments you might have.
Sure thing. Thank you very much. Nathan Petrusak, O'Reilly Rensselaer PC. I am here on behalf of Joseph Saya. We would like to thank the board for hearing this tonight. I know there was an application that was submitted back in October that was a larger sign exception request than the one before you tonight. Obviously, we appreciate your time on this matter. Obviously, we're back here again. We are coming with a reduced sign request. This one is only 3.88 square feet, larger than what is permitted by the ordinance. And there's a very good reason for that, above and beyond the fact that the sign has already been purchased, the sign has already been paid for, and yes, it is a little bit of a mea culpa, sort of asking for forgiveness and allowing the sign to remain. But beyond that, I drove over there tonight just because I wanted to get a look at it in the evening and in the dark, and the issue really is not about 26 Mile or the intersection itself. The issue in terms of traffic capture and business is Romeo Plank heading north. The facade of the building is double the size on Romeo Plank than it is on 26 Mile Road, which it's sort of ironic. 26 Mile Road has a 25-foot facade and has a larger sign on it, and the Romeo Plank side is 50-foot facade, but is required to have a smaller sign on it. So it's a double-sized facade, but has to have a smaller sign by ordinance. And part of the issue becomes, as you're traveling northbound on Romeo Plank, there's a number of instances of mature foliage along the westbound side of the road. As I was driving it tonight, there are a number of mature pine trees that are right up along the edge of the road. It's a couple hundred yards away from where the Tim Hortons is, but as you're going north on Romeo Plank, you can't see the Tim Hortons at all until you get past these pine trees. And it really cuts down your amount of time in order to be able to recognize that there's a Tim Hortons there and make a decision to stop at the Tim Hortons there. And so those trees cut down the visibility, and then there's a number of other trees, deciduous trees that obviously currently have no leaves on them, but in the springtime and the summer, they will be in bloom and have all of their leaves, and it does cut down the ability of motorists traveling northbound on Romeo Plank to really see that sign. Even with an additional 3.88 square feet in size, it's a tough sign to see, to try to capture northbound traffic that on Romeo Plank. That's one of the reasons that we went with this sign as opposed to the maple leaf sign that said Tim's on it. While that would have been a compliant sign, that sign would have been almost impossible for motorists to be able to see until they were almost right up on top of it. And by that point, you've already passed the entry, you've already passed the driveway on Romeo Plank to turn in to the Tim Hortons. So the calculus there is that if the motorists aren't going to be able to see the maple leaf sign and recognize it for what it is in time enough to be able to turn in, it doesn't serve much of a benefit at all. This is at least a Tim Hortons sign that you can recognize with its script and everything else as being a Tim Hortons sign, and it enables us to have a little bit more visibility than what we would have otherwise. In terms of the other signage on site, there are no more the feather signs. There's no more feather signs on site. I went by tonight for the Tim Hortons. They've been taken down. I think they were temporary signs. The directional signs that are on site, I think there's 5 or 6 of them. They don't do anything for capturing traffic. That you can't really see them from any great distance. They're solely there to help with the traffic circulation on site and have it be done safely. And then the pylon sign itself, that's right at the corner of Romeo Plank and 26 Mile Road. It's not visible really to anybody traveling northbound on Romeo Plank. And so again, it doesn't do anything for the Romeo Plank side, which is double the size of the facade of the 26 Mile Road side to be able to see it. And so that's the hardship that my client has this evening. It's a modest request. It's 3.88 square feet in size. In fact, from what I saw tonight, it could stand to be even bigger, but we're not asking for that. Like I said, if you went by there, you'd see it for yourselves. It's heading north. It's tough to see. And so we're just asking that the board grant us an exception tonight to allow this sign to remain in order to help have a little bit more visibility for the business on the Romeo Plank side.
All right, thank you very much. 2 things before I go forward. I wrote down your name as Nathan, sir, but I didn't get your last name. So
I apologize. It's Petrusak. P as in Peter, E-T-R-U-S-A-K.
Okay, very good, Mr. Petrusak. One thing that I just want to mention, I was going to mention it earlier, and it actually affects, I believe, both agenda items this evening, is that relative to the ZBA and relative to, I'll say, unpermitted items that come before us, our stance is we don't really regard it for the positive for you and for the negative. For the positive, we're not here to penalize. We're not here to say no because it wasn't permitted. To the negative, I suppose, for you, but equally, is we look at it as if the sign wasn't there. We try to look at it evenly. So I just wanted to mention that. Our job is not enforcement in that regard. Our job is to decide these. So I just wanted to make sure I set that for you this evening. So, and I believe the other applicants as well tonight have something similar. So, with that, is there any questions for Mr. Petrusak from the board?
I do.
Go ahead, Mr. Kamikia.
Mr. Petrusak, does the directional signage, you said there were 5, 6 directional signs on property. Do those have Tim Hortons branding or maple leaves or red and yet? I mean, the script or anything Tim Hortons-ish.
I don't know if the Office of Planning has any photographs they can put up. They do say Tim Hortons on them. They're rectangular signs. I would say they're probably about yay big. They're rectangular signs. I do believe they say Tim Hortons in script on it. They're typically by the driveways. So there's an entryway on 26 Mile Road. There's an in and out sign right there. There's a Tim Hortons directional sign internal to the site to direct traffic to and I should say the directional signs are largely due to the existence of a drive-through on site. That's the primary consideration, is that you have to direct this traffic around site because it also connects to an adjacent parcel there that I believe has a car wash on it, and you can actually traverse both sites, and so there's a directional sign on that sign as well. So yes, they say Tim Hortons, they're not big enough in terms of the size of the lettering or the brightness of the sign or anything else. No one is going to be able to see that on Romeo Plank as they're heading north and be able to say, I know that's a Tim Hortons based solely on those rectangular signs, and be able to make a timely enough decision to stop there before they've already gone right past it.
Are they illuminated in any way?
I think they were illuminated tonight. They weren't very bright. It was after dark when I drove past there this evening, and I actually drove around in the site and circulated the site myself. I believe they're illuminated, but it wasn't great illumination.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, very good. Any other questions? Hearing none, and without objection, I'm going to open this up, and we'll open it up to the public, and then usually I'll have you come back up just in case we have deliberation questions after that. Any questions from the public or any comments on this matter? If so, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you would have 4 minutes to give any comments. Seeing none, without objection, I will close public comment and bring this back to the board for questions, comments, or motions.
I'll make one comment. I'm usually coming north on Romeo Plank when I go there, and I still was able to see it. Granted, you don't see it as well coming north as you would from any other direction, but I found it to be quite visible. So.
Any other questions or comments or motions? I should mention that relative to our requirements from the ordinance on this, we do have to make sure we spell out any rationale for our motion. Obviously, we're supposed to do it with variance as well, but I believe the ordinance does spell out the requirement to give findings of fact for any of the motions on this.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Mr. Gamicchia.
I would move to deny the sign exception to allow a wall sign over the allowed square footage for Tim Hortons parcel number 0806200050 based on the following. Number one, conforming signs already exist and they appear to satisfy the intent of the ordinance. Number two, regarding visibility and site features, no obstructions exist that would impair viewing approved signage per the specs of the ordinance. And number three, a compliant sign could still be erected in this space without obstruction.
All right, motion by Mr. Gamicchia. Is there support?
I'll second that motion.
Support by Mr. Piper. Is there any discussion of the motion? You're good with the motion? Good. Mr. Box, you're okay with it? Okay. Mr. Bruin, please call the roll.
Mr. Gamicchia?
Aye.
I am a no. Mr. Tuckfield?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzara?
Yes.
Mr. Piper?
Yes.
Passes 4-1.
All right, very good. Thank you, sir. All right, that moves us on to item 8B. This would be several variances. I'm not going to read all this. I'm not going to cite all the sections, but this would be with regard to a concrete walkway, a patio, and a hot tub. Permanent parcel 08272760002. The petitioners would be Dominic and Sarah Pacifico. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Mr. Box, could you please take us through this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. As you mentioned, again, this property is near 22 Mile. It's a little south of 22 Mile, just off Card Road. The applicant is requesting 3 separate variances this evening. One to allow a patio within a side yard, one for a patio in a rear yard. Those both have to do with setbacks, and then to allow a hot tub in the side yard. So the drawing you see here, so each color kind of corresponds to what you see on the left. So in the yellow area, a portion of that is actually at 0 feet. The requirement is 7.5 feet. And so there are some exceptions that can be made down to 3.5 feet for service walks, but they don't meet 3.5 until quite a ways back, as you see in the drawing there. In the orange area, again, they're seeking a variance to allow 9 feet setback from the rear property line for the patio, The R1 district requires 20 feet, so you can see a significant portion of that would violate the 20-foot setback requirement. And then you see the patio on the drawing there in blue. And again, those are not permitted in side yards, they must be in the rear. And just so everyone is clear, if you were to draw a straight line from the rear of the principal structure directly towards the side yard, that's, anything behind that is the rear yard. So this would be considered a side yard. Again, going through compliance with the strict letter of the restrictions governing area, setbacks, frontage, height, bulk, or density would unreasonably prevent the owner from using the property for permitted purpose, would render conformity with such restrictions unnecessarily burdensome. So again, the property is a pie shape, which is not necessarily typical, but not atypical. We have a number of them in the township. Still fairly common. There's an existing easement in the rear of the property that the patio currently goes over in the northwestern corner based on the drawings provided by the applicant. And again, compliance with the restrictions of the zoning ordinance would not be unnecessarily burdensome. The applicant has identified that the patio has already been constructed. However, the applicant could modify the existing patio to comply with the required 20-foot rear yard setback and 3.5-foot side yard setback, while still maintaining an adequate space for a compliant usable patio. And the applicant could also potentially move the hot tub to the rear yard instead of the side yard. So again, I'm going through the criteria here for a variance request. A grant of the variance applied for would do substantial justice to the applicant as well as to other property owners in the district. A lesser relaxation than that applied for would give the substantial relief to the property owner of the owner of the property, involved, and be more consistent with justice to other property owners. So again, granting the proposed variances would allow for a continuation of an existing patio. However, there are no physical barriers or practical difficulties identified by staff that would give substantial reasoning to allow for these deviations from the requirements of the ordinance. The applicants constructed the patio without an approved permit from the building department. Granting the requested variances would give relief to the property owner due to the patio and hot tub already being constructed and installed. However, it may set a precedence for residents to ignore due process and request a variance with no practical difficulty to avoid proper process and permit approval. And can relief be granted in such fashion that the spirit of the ordinance will be observed and public safety and welfare secured? And again, the applicant may provide additional information regarding that. So findings of fact, it does not appear that there are any unique physical characteristics, which is something, for a practical difficulty that the ZBA would typically look for that render conformance with the ordinance unnecessarily burdensome. Again, it appears that a grant of the requested variances would provide the applicant a greater relief than other property owners in the same district. But again, we would defer the applicant. I see that they're here. They can provide additional information regarding whether the spirit of the ordinance is observed and public health, safety, and welfare is secured. We did circulate this through all the departments. Assessing had no objections. Fire had no concerns with the request as submitted. Building indicated the requested variance do not create any building code violations but do violate the zoning ordinance. DPW had a number of comments. The arborvitaes on the west property line must be removed. Again, this has to do with grading, and there's some easements. Trees on the northwest corner of the property are within the easement. Can stay within the easement so long as they stay a minimum of 5 feet from both the north and west property lines. The patio is encroaching into the easement. The arborvitaes on the east property line need to be removed and proper grade restored on the lot. As the trees grow over time, the root ball will cause water to shed onto the neighboring property. While the neighboring property is a park, it is common to all, and any of the future issues, including potential water shedding, would be borne by the residents of the neighborhood. If the residents want to keep the arborvitaes, they will need to be placed at least 5 feet from the east property line. Engineering department also had a number of comments. It appears the sidewalk and brick pavers along the southeast side of the home have been constructed at 0 setback. Based on the information provided in the master grading plan for the subdivision, it appears drainage from the improvements on this lot now drain onto the existing pathway. The arborvitaes planted along the northwesterly property line of the property may obstruct drainage from flowing from the front corner of the home to the rear of the lot as provided on the master grading plan for the subdivision. And the arborvitaes and the river birch trees planted along the northerly side of the patio and bocce courts may obstruct drainage flow from east side of the rear of the lot to the west side. That's all I have for you.
All right, very good. Any questions for Mr. Box from the board? Hearing none, if the applicants would like to come up, state your name and address for the record. I will mention, similar to what I mentioned to the last applicant, and this can be positive and negative, but our responsibility is not to enforce permits. So on the positive side, we're not here to say, hey, why'd you build it before the permit? That may be true, but it's not our responsibility. On the flip side, and this can be negative, but I just want to make sure we're on the same page before we start, for a practical, or for a variance, the cost is not something we can take into account. So the equivalent thing would be here saying, hey, I built it and it's going to cost a lot. It's understandable, but it's not something that we have the ability to take into account. So I just want to make sure that I mention that. It's just what our restrictions are. And with that, feel free to state your name and address for the record, and give any comments on this you might have.
I'm Dominic Pacifico.
And I'm Sarah Pacifico, and our address is 21473 Clayton, and obviously that's in Macomb. But just for the record, none of the landscape has been put in yet, so the patio is in, but none of the, like, there's no bocce court. That was a plan that we had gotten from Antonelli. We hired a company to make this design for us. So he had us go right up to the easement, which we thought it was okay. He made this plan, we paid him for this. We were also, I think it's on there, we had just put an addition on. So the top right corner, that was an addition that we had just put on. So we had been working with the building department for like the past year, getting all the permits. So we had them over, and I don't know who it was that came over, but I had showed him this plan, and he said, make sure your patio, when you step out, make sure your patio is a step out and it's not like a step down, make sure it's flat, right? So I'm like, okay, so we didn't have Antonelli's put in the patio. He was more expensive, so we hired someone else. We did not know we needed a permit because the last patio we put in was in 2003. We didn't need it, right? So anyway, we switched that up. We told him we needed the step, down, the flat down. And we have not put any of the landscaping in yet. The side lot, it might go out a little further than even this plan went out. But in the back, it doesn't go over the easement, I don't believe. At least that's what Mike had told us to. And we did not intentionally not get a permit for it. I promise you, I'm a rule follower, I swear. I literally did not know you needed to. I talked to the guy. I even had him sit down at my house. I said, can you look at this and tell me what you think? And he literally gave me advice about it. So I thought we were doing the right thing. As soon as we found out we didn't, we came in, we've been in contact with Mike I don't know his last name, but
Badamo.
Badamo.
Yes.
We've been in contact with him, and then he was on vacation for a bit, but I thought we were doing the right thing. We did have one of our neighbors to our left, the only one that shares a grass. He did write us a letter. It was in all of the stuff that we had sent over. He sent a letter. We share grass with him. We don't have anyone behind us because it's a common area, and we don't back up to anybody. So I know that's the purpose. You don't want people's patios to back up to each other. So that's where we were. It was not intentional to ever, but we were working with the city for this whole time to put something like this in and not do it right. That was never our intention. I'm not trying to break rules. I have, all of our neighbors are supportive of of it. We even showed it to our association. We're the first addition that's been built in our we're the first ones in Cornerstone that has, done an addition. Our kind of plan was, we're looking at these new subs on the other side of, Card Road, like on what side would it be? The east side of Card Road. They have like those backyards that have the covered area and the addition. So we're like, instead of moving, our house, we're happy with our spot. Let's kind of make it look like our own space here. So, That was our intention, to make it look like that, but maybe Dominic has more, sorry.
No, it's okay. You're just talking about the reason why we didn't get the approval or the permit.
permit.
But I'll just address some of the concerns that I saw in the letters that were sent to us, and I think you had mentioned a couple things. It seemed to me, a lot of the negative things that I was reading was a lot about the landscape, and like my wife correctly stated, none of those trees that you see there, the arborvitae's in the back, arborvitae's on the side there, next to the bocce court's not there, nothing's there. I don't know, do you guys have access to the letter that I
We
sent
did put pictures
with the
in.
pictures?
It should be in the packet, I believe.
Okay, I don't know if you guys have access to that or not.
I have one on the file. in
You see the
front of me.
pictures? Okay, so to address the, so the landscaping thing's not even the issue, that's not why we even, this was just the image that we used for the patio. All the other stuff is not around it at all. So if you see the pictures, you can kind of see that. As far as the other concerns with the drainage, if you look at the pictures, the grass around that back area, that left area there where you see the long arborvitae's there, none of the grade has changed. There was no, we didn't bring in soil, we
No.
didn't build it like up, so like, literally, if I remove that patio, that grade would stay the same. Like, there wouldn't be a physical change to the grade at all. And if you see where my property line ends on that picture up there, there's a number of feet beyond my property that is, yes, it is common area, but it's not really usable space. So, you know, for me, I guess our biggest argument is to the spirit of the ordinance, right? I'm assuming there's privacy concerns, right? Public safety concerns, the reason for the ordinance itself. As far as drainage is concerned, I don't see how that would change, especially in the backyard. If you look at the letter that I gave, the second picture, or the second page, first picture is the side lot I showed. This picture, this map doesn't show it very well.
Yeah, that didn't change, and so I don't,
But, so, just when you see the picture, take a look at the slope. Imagine it going back another 3.5 feet, and tell me if you think that would change the drainage at all. Because there's another 7.5 feet of grass that is over there. Like, I just don't see the drainage issue. I guess that's my point.
I just have one question too. So the creek, there's a creek, so we're on the common area, and it's kind of like a football field back there. You can see the path behind our house, and then that to the right, or I guess the top corner on the right is all common area, but then way back, is the creek, which is the Miller Drain, I think it's called. So we're kind of far away from that. So our house is up higher though. So the pathway you see between my house and the neighbor on my right, or right now on our right, you're both kind of high up. So our house does kind of, just so you know,
got a nice
it does
grade.
drain right into that. And then that actually, the middle part actually drains down. It all drains down to the common
but it
area
ne-
back that way.
but it
So
never-
it's not
it
like
never
our
floods, though.
change, we didn't do anything to
Right.
the grade. They just put the concrete there. Everything else did stay the same. So I didn't know if it was a concern before, because we have not changed that ever. They just put the patio there now. Not the patio, it's just a sidewalk, which we thought was nice that we could have our own sidewalk rather than using the path, but
So I don't know. I guess our argument is the spirit of the law. I don't think we're violating anything, as far as the spirit is. Now, as far as the ordinance, and hardship, yeah, we couldn't make a patio somewhere in there. Obviously, it would be smaller, but we could make a patio, and that part is true. But I do believe that, according to the ordinance, I'm sure it was put there for those other reasons, and I don't think we're violating any of those reasons. So I guess that's,
the closest neighbor behind us is like, see where it says 31.54? There's somebody there, but there's no one else on the other side if you look,
that's
if you were
probably
able to see
another-
it. But, he's like, I love your patio, and I know that doesn't matter to you guys, but, I'm not trying to, like I said, I'm not trying to break rules, I'm not trying to say like, hey, we got this. I'm just hoping that it can be considered, I'm like begging a little bit, that it's just considered, because it's, I know it's already done, and that's not your concern, because I know that that's not the issue, so that's not my point. It's just, you know, it looks nice, you know, we submitted it to our subdivision, they're like, it looks great, even the president, who we're not even really friends with, but friendly with, he was like, we're so excited to see it, so I feel like it's nice, it looks nice, and my hope is that, you know, it's not like something that people would be, you know, looking at it like it doesn't look nice. I'm trying to beautify the area. We stayed there because we loved it, because we want to make it look nice.
Yeah.
So that's our hope, that you understand that, and know that we were never trying to break the rules, because we went through the whole channel that we needed to for the inside build and everything, and all the electrical that we needed. The patio, or the hot tub, we were just trying to keep it away from the, like that area that he wants to put, which is going to be like a covered area. And when you're in my front yard, you can't really see it, I swear. It looks like you could, but you can't see it from the street. You could not see the patio. So I know, like, you don't want to see people's backyard from the front, but I swear we're on like it's very narrow, the way our area is, and I looked today, you cannot see it. But right by and look, I promise.
I guess to the other point, you know, speaking to the one mention of, you know, it wouldn't be fair to other homeowners. I guess my one argument would be is that I would hope that you guys would all consider
Everybody.
everybody, just like we have, the reason for this whole meeting, right? Why you have these board meetings is that everybody has the access to be able to do that and be heard, like you guys are now. And I would hope that you guys would consider everybody that has maybe a similar setup, that where the ordinance really was meant to protect the public safety and the welfare and general welfare of the city.
And that you're not on top of people.
If this is not violating those things, then I would hope that you would see that as well for them. So I guess that's my point for that. So again, we're just asking that you consider that when making your decision.
And also, when you voted for the last one, when you said like, yes, 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 was that, yes, we approve it, or?
So, just briefly, the way the motion making works is, so that a person makes a motion, they say what they want to have happen. It has to be seconded for us to vote on it.
Oh, so he said no.
So, right, so his motion was, I am making a motion to deny it, and so then our answer is, do we agree with the motion or not?
Got it.
So we had 4 people who said yes, we had 1 person who said no, and then, so that's
So
how.
was it approved, theirs?
Theirs was rejected,
Oh, it was rejected.
yes.
I just heard all yeses, and I wasn't sure.
Absolutely
I just don't want to be like, yay, if I'm not.
understood. Yeah, and I'd have to say that the people who know those things without having to think about it lead very boring lives, so I'm kind of sad for all of us up here. Okay, very good. Is there any questions for the petitioner from the board?
I have a few. So currently,
Go ahead, Mr. Mazzara.
just really right now is the patio and the hot tub.
Yeah,
Correct.
patio, the hot tub is actually right now, is sitting on my grass, on the
grass.
next, because I was in the process of rolling it with my son, and we got it to the spot when we found out that we needed to do this whole process. So I'm like, well, I'm not putting the hot tub back on the concrete for them to tell me I gotta rip it out and then have to move it again, you know what I'm saying? So technically, the hot tub is in the general area, but it is
Mike
not
did
currently down there.
Recommend that we have it sealed. I talked to him, and when he got back from his vacation, and I told him, I said, it has to get through the winter, and so he said, I recommend you get it sealed, because it's a stamped, you know, patio, so he said, get it sealed, and then, you know, we'll, hopefully, you know, everything works out, but,
So, yeah, and then the covered area there, there's nothing on it.
Right.
There's just.
he's just kind of waiting.
It's just the
guy
concrete
is-
and the fire pit is basically what you would see if you were to be out there right now.
I kind of got that from the pictures. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, yeah,
So I mean, we'll need a railing around, like, the patio. I don't know if there's pictures of it,
on
but
the steps.
going down from the house.
I don't think I took pictures
we'll-
of that because they
I have a
was not
picture
on the
if you
thing.
need to see it, but we'll need a railing, which we already know that. I mean, we definitely would do that, but, I mean, we'll do whatever we need to do to make it work. It's just, you know.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I got some comments.
Go, Mr. DeBruin.
So, just, first of all, this is a beautiful design.
Oh, thanks. They did a nice job on it.
Second of all, you folks seem like wonderful people, and these are always very difficult decisions for us to make. But to kind of address some of your issues about how it doesn't affect drainage, whenever you calculate stormwater on a parcel, when you increase the amount of impervious surface, such as the patio, even though you're not affecting the drainage, you're increasing the amount of water that's going to be on it. So just please understand that those are some of the things that we have to consider as
Do you
well.
mean like on top of the patio or?
Anytime you get rid of grass and put in cement, you're increasing the amount of stormwater that's going to be on that grass. And I guess I have a question for Mr. Box. That common area where the path is, who owns that?
I would assume they're HOA.
Okay,
Yeah, we paid like an extra fee to have it
Right.
just for extra
Well,
property
This
behind.
next one, I mean, we cut it, we maintain it, but it's, technically, it's association.
okay.
It is, it's owned by the homeowners association.
That's all I
Which-
have.
Correct.
You know, we did get approval from them, just, I don't know if that is in there or not, but I don't know if it matters or not.
Any other questions?
I have something for Mr. Box.
Go ahead, Mr. Gamicchia.
Mr. Josh, can you point out again, you went from the left side for the measurements of the rear setback?
Correct. So the way our ordinance is written, you would take the most immediate side and go directly to the side yard, or I'm sorry, the side lot line. So anything from the front to the rear corner straight across, this is the side yard area. Anything behind that line is the rear yard. So the hot tub shown here would be in the side yard. We do not allow them in the side yard. They must be in the rear yard. And on this side of the house, same thing. The furthest corner and the front corner, this would be the side yard area.
That's not a patio though, that's just a walkway, that's.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
And none of those landscapes are there on the right-hand side either, right now? We're just waiting.
All right, we have nobody in the public this evening at this point, so I am going to, without objection, skip public comment because there's nobody to comment. I will bring it back to the board. Josh, actually, I did have one question. There was some commentary on some of the landscaping issues. The landscaping is not in front of us this evening, correct? So-
Correct. You're voting on the patio setback from the rear, the side, and then the hot tub being allowed in the side yard.
Okay. And then with regards to the rear setback, there's sort of two lines that we're looking at. We're looking at the easement held by DPW, and we're looking at the rear yard setback, which is 20 feet. The easement is referenced in that the Public Works Department does not wish to give a variance on the easement, but that is also separate than the standard rear
Right,
yard setback.
there's such a thing as an easement encroachment agreement. That would be something they could contact the DPW and get. My understanding is they do not typically give those, especially in the last few years, for this, but again, that would be for them if they go into the easement, but to even get anywhere near the easement, they would have to be granted the variance this evening.
It doesn't
Specifically-
go over the easement.
Specifically for that back left corner.
Correct.
Yeah, it's real close right there.
Yeah, I believe what they're referencing is this area right here.
Because
maybe
the
an
tree
easement.
area is all landscaping that's not been installed.
Correct, correct.
It does not go into the easement though, like the patio is before the easement.
Okay. It does appear on the drawing that at least one point it does go into it. The 9, where it shows 9 foot, I assume is where that's referring to. I assume the easement is 10 feet off the back.
Easement's 9 feet. Or at least on the plot plan it was.
Okay. The point only being that we can't grant or deny it, only that if we were to deny it, I'm confusing the sentence, let me start one more time. If we were to grant a variance on the rear setback, you still might be encumbered by the easement, because we do not have authority over that. And the Department of Public Works has indicated to us that they would not grant one, so just a piece of information. Okay. I would just make the comment, I think, similar to Mr. DeBruin. I don't think we're here measuring the beauty of your plan. It looks like a very nice plan, and you seem to be very nice people. So we're going to deliberate. We may have some questions for you. These are not always easy decisions, and I would just say, whatever the decision is, we're trying to fit within our requirements, and if it is a decision for denial, obviously it won't feel good, but it is not meant to be personal to you. It's us trying to do our job the best we can, so,
So I just have a couple questions before you make your decision. So
yes.
when the decision is made, are there, how do I word it? Is there, like, if you're like, oh, you're fine up to this many feet, or, do you know what I'm saying? Are there, because we asked for what we have, but if you say no, you could go this far, right?
I believe, and I would check with our legal counsel, that we could grant a variance for a lesser restriction. We don't typically do that. Sometimes we might apply conditions, but typically we do not adjust a dimension. And Jeff, I would just verify, we have the ability to do that, correct? Or I should not phrase it that way. Is it correct that we have the ability to do that?
I don't know that that's true. The variance that's put before you is the decision you're making, and you have to make a decision to grant or deny that variance. In the previous application, there was a former application, and then they reduced their ask and came back again, so.
I was assuming that with being able to grant with conditions that covered that, but obviously there's difference between changing the core ask and applying different things to it.
So if you granted it based on a condition, for example, I don't know that I want to suggest something. If there was a reason for the condition, right? I don't know that you can say, we're not going to grant you 10 feet, but we'll grant you 5 feet into the setback. And I'm just making up an example that's not relevant here. I don't know that you could do that. But if there was some marker where we would say, we're granting you an exception up to that marker or to that point, because that's where we find a practical difficulty, but not beyond that. And so as a condition, we're asking you to be in compliance with that. I think you could have a condition in that sense. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
I believe so, yes.
Excuse me, I see it a little differently. I thought a condition would be, we'll grant the hot tub variance if you put a fence up, or something like that, so that it's not seen. I mean, that's an example of a variance without changing the nature of the request, right?
Your conditions, as long as they're reasonable, can be anything.
Right.
Yeah. So, for example, there was, in this situation, there's a property line and then an easement. If a condition was tied to one of those two lines or one of those two markers, that could be a condition that could be put in there.
That's what I was understanding you to
Yes.
say, yeah.
Yes.
The other thing I would note to the applicant is that once we deny a specific variance request, we don't rehear them, but we hear if you come back and had a different variance request on the same subject, there's no technical limit to how many times you could submit for a variance request. So I think that'd be maybe similar to what you're asking, is that you can submit for different requests.
Mr. Chairman?
You do, just one moment, Mr. Piper.
If I, yeah, okay.
Just 1 second, just to finish the thought. You do, however, if you thought that the board might deny and you had a specific thought of what you would want to do, you could request a tabling. The board would have to accept the tabling, and then you could bring it back and modify it and see if there was something else you could do. That is one possibility. The board would still have to approve it, and even this week at our planning commission, we had somebody who asked for a tabling, and we did not accept the tabling, so it's not a sure path, but just so you understand it. Go ahead, Mr. Piper.
I was just going to say, I'm going from memory here from previous requests where the applicant changed their request, and then we voted on that, where we didn't.
Correct. That also, if you change it, although we were literally talking about this Tuesday, when a request changes, especially when there's multiple elements to it, it probably behooves us to have the planning department look at it again and not vote on it in the flow of a meeting, but to have it go back through the process. We literally had this Tuesday, we discussed it, so, yes.
Sorry, I'm a teacher, so I raise my hand all the time. Okay, so if you are concerned about the water, because that, right now, that's all mentioned, I saw it with the abrevieties, and when I called to ask a question about it, they had mentioned that Mike had said, hey, they don't even have their landscaping up, I don't know why that's on there, but it was never taken off. So if I mean, obviously, there's patios this size, like all over the world, right? So if it's if it's just a drainage issue, can I just ask that you just say, hey, just get the drainage fixed, call somebody out, and we would fix the drainage issue of having it drain wherever you want it to go. If that's the main issue, that it's the drainage. All I ask is that you just, like,
So we generally don't go back and forth too much, which is difficult for us. We have to be careful what we will say, but I will underline, so Mr. De Bruin, within another municipality, works with water and sewer. He's very familiar with it. It's part of why, yes, it's part of why he mentioned it. But structurally, the way the ordinance handles drainage is that when you have a solid surface, the solid surface does not allow water to absorb through that ground area and not pool off and puddle off elsewhere. And that is essentially what we're talking here with drainage. When you put in the concrete, you are now, the water where the concrete is does not absorb, and therefore it sheets off and it goes other places, and it structurally creates more water. So how the ordinance seeks to deal with that is to limit the amount of impervious surface. We have a restriction per lot. There's only so much square footage of the lot that can be impervious, and it tries to keep it away from the lot lines to not cause drainage issues with adjacent property, whether they're occupied properties or not. So that is what it is generally referring to when it comes to drainage, and that's what Mr. De Bruin was mentioning earlier, so.
we have a really small driveway, if that helps. It's very narrow.
Understood. At this point, I'm probably going to go into just discussion with the board, unless you had a specific request for tabling or anything, we would then go into motions, so.
We just-
You're welcome to sit down, yeah. And generally, if we're discussing, you have something to say, usually we keep discussing. Feel free to raise your hand, and if it's a point where I can take a comment, I will. But please don't be offended if we're in the middle and I can't, so. All right, with that, is there any comments, questions, or motions? And please note that if we do go into motions, these should be taken as 3 separate motions.
I can make a motion here on the second. So with regard to 10.0311 dot capital E dot lowercase f dot 2, it pains me to make a motion to deny based on the fact that you just can't allow a impervious surface to be this close to an easement.
All right, man, my voice is cracking tonight. Motion by Mr. De Bruin to deny on the second request with regards to the rear yard setback. Is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Mr. Gamikia. Any discussion on the motion? All right. Did you have something to say? I'm seeing you looking at us.
Well, I'm not joining the discussion, but the standard for a variance is a practical difficulty. I'm not sure your motion mentioned that.
There wasn't a practical difficulty provided.
That
That's
would
what
be.
you wanted to hear?
Yes, that's what I want to hear.
Okay, yeah, there is no practical difficulty provided.
Okay. Motion by Mr. De Bruin to deny the rear yard setback because there is no practical difficulty provided, supported by Mr. Gamikia. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr.
I'm
Yes, sir.
sorry. Does the second
Yes.
consent to the amended
Yes.
motion?
Thank you. Yes, I should have verified that explicitly. Very good. Mr. De Bruin, please call the roll.
I'm a yes. Mr. Gamikia?
Yes.
Mr. Tuckfield?
Yes.
Mr. Piper?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzara?
Yes.
Okay, so that is the middle request was denied, 5-0. Is there any other motions? We have 2 other items on this issue.
Well, I will also make a motion regarding the hot tub and 10.0311 E.F.2 to deny that motion also based on the absence of practical difficulty.
Motion by Mr. De Bruin. Is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Mr. Gamikia.
Can I ask a question of Mr. Box on that?
Discussion on the motion. Jeff, how restricted are we at discussion on the motion? I should know this.
sir.
Is it only pertinent to the motion at hand, or can it be relative to?
I have a question about the ordinance itself, the intent of the ordinance.
If a motion's on the table, then you're past deliberation,
Okay. Yeah, I think we have to vote on it, Mr. Piper.
Okay, sorry.
unless the motion's withdrawn.
I would certainly withdraw in the interest of making sure we vet this out properly.
And I'd agree.
Thank you, Mr. Bruin. Go ahead, Mr. Piper.
Josh, I looked at this house too, and the point that she made about the side yard not being visible from the street, as far as the intent of the ordinance, is that what the ordinance is involved, that, why they have that side yard restriction?
It's both visibility as well as proximity to neighboring properties.
So it's
Our
both,
ordinance,
not just
pools
the-
and hot tubs are treated the same at this point. And, we're trying to keep both visibility and noise and things that may come with a pool
Now,
especially.
Because I noticed the way the curve of the street goes, the other house, it does kind of block that. I just want to make
Sure.
sure that it requires both, not just the visibility. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Being that the lot, the way the lot is, and I know you talk about the line and drawing a line across, and that's a side yard. Most of the properties in Macomb are 70 by 125 or whatever, and it's almost impossible to put a hot tub on a side yard, and most of the properties around here. And this particular lot, it is very possible, and like Mr. Piper said, it is kind of hidden. Can we take that into account, the shape of the lot?
If you view that the shape of the lot as a practical difficulty,
Yeah.
you could. Much like I agreed with Mr. Gamikia, you could attach a condition to it, similar to what you had suggested.
Well, being that I have another motion, being that is exactly how deliberations are supposed to work, in light of this, that it's visibility, and there is a pie-shaped lot, I would make a motion to allow for this variance, based on the fact that the practical difficulty is that the shape of the lot makes it more usable, or at least usable beyond the parameters of the original intent of the ordinance. So I make a motion to approve this.
Motion by Mr. DeBruin to approve the variance. We're good on wording, very good. Is there support?
I'll support it.
Supported by Mr. Mazzara. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, Mr. DeBruin, please call the roll.
I am a yes. Mr. Gamikia?
No.
Mr. Tuckfield?
No.
Mr. Mazzara?
Yes.
Mr. Piper?
I'm going to vote yes.
And it's
Okay.
3-2, yes.
Very good, 3-2. So of the two so far, just so we're on the same page, the first one was the rear setback, that was denied. This was the hot tub, that was approved. So you're understanding where we are. I actually have a question for the applicant. Before the next one, because I was flipping through, I didn't see, do you know the measurement from your garage to your east lot line where the sidewalk is? What the total distance is to the lot line? Mr. Box, do you know that number? So,
I think he's talking about from the end of the garage here to the end of your lot.
yes, that dimension there.
Yeah, I don't think it's shown on any of the drawings.
This is the best picture, but it doesn't give you
Doesn't really
dimensions, right?
You're talking about from the side of my house, like the corner?
Of the garage.
Corner of the garage.
What I'm trying to understand is the amount of space there is for a sidewalk to go in between the edge of that garage and the lot line.
Sorry, no, I don't have the exact measurement. Get a visual on the picture, I guess you can see our garbage can on the side there, so that gives you an indication.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say if you want to use the scale, the walkway that's shown is dimensioned as 4 feet wide, so I would say
8 or 9 feet.
8 or 9 feet.
Yeah.
I have it on Google Earth if you want me to come up.
That's, as long as that sidewalk's to scale, I think that's pretty good.
I think the scale should be fine. I guess relative to how we were discussing restrictions before, I don't think it's good for the sidewalk to be right on the lot line for a variety of reasons. However, it's not many houses where the sidewalk goes, the side yard goes onto an adjoining sidewalk. I would say that of all the properties in the township, I doubt that there's more than 5 that have this same feature. So I think that this is a unique feature. Whether it qualifies for closeness is another question, and I guess I could see giving a variance here, maybe not to the lot line, but something less, which may not help the homeowners because they still might have to pull that concrete out. And this is kind of where I was struggling with how I might say this, or if it has to be a strict approval or denial. Because if it's 8 feet, you might say that we're willing to give a variance 1 foot into the side setback to make sure it's not directly on it. But if you go too much further than that, there's really no room to put a sidewalk. And realistically, property should have a side sidewalk, and that's an unusual lot in that regard in my view. So I'm not entirely sure how best to word this.
Just so, you know, again, we're guessing 8 to 9 feet based off the scale of the walkway being shown as 4 feet. The minimum setback for the principal structure, so it has to be at least 7.5 feet. That is a requirement.
In which case they would have for a
And
3.5 walk, they would have 3.5.
Yeah, most houses in the township are built right up to the edge, so most houses are 7.5 feet.
Any discussion or motions?
Well, one more quick question, getting back to the scale there. That addition that's in the back looks like it's farther out than the garage is. So if that's,
But the lot line angles
The
back.
lot line goes out.
okay, so
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Gamicchia.
I would move to deny the variance request for a side yard setback of 0 feet for 21473 Clayton Drive, parcel number 0827276002, based on the following. No practical difficulty could be identified, a conforming walkway could be constructed, and greater relief would be provided by granting this variance than other residents would normally receive.
Motion by Mr. Gamicchia, is there support? Hearing.
I would actually support that.
Okay, Mr. DeBruin supports. Then do we have any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion on the motion, Mr. DeBruin, please call the roll.
Wait a minute. I'm a
Motion
yes.
to deny.
Jim Gamicchia,
I'm a yes.
Mr. Tuckfield,
Yes.
Mr. Mazzara,
No.
Mr. Piper.
No,
All right. So for the score, it was yes on the hot tub, no on the rear setback, and no on the sidewalk. We really appreciate you coming in. We know this is not an easy thing to go through, but we appreciate your patience in this matter. All right, with that, we're moving on to public comments. If there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak, they may do so for 4 minutes. I believe we have nobody but the applicants who are leaving, so I'm going to move us on to ZBA member comments. Any comments this evening?
I just have one, Mr. Chairman. The Macomb Community Action Walk for Warmth will be held in downtown Mount Clemens on February 28th. This is the first time since pre-COVID that it is out actually in the cold, so join us. Macomb Community Action is a great organization that does a lot for all the communities throughout the county, so.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you telling us about that. Anything else?
I've got one more too.
I have, just that, I just want to mention that those are difficult decisions to make, and I'm happy and honored to be on a board where we honestly vet things out and talk about things. I changed my motion for the one specifically because you changed my mind, and that's the way deliberations are supposed to work. And these are really difficult things. Those were clearly salt of the earth type people, but obviously we know what we have to do here, and we have to do it, so.
And I've got one more comment.
Go ahead, Mr. Piper.
This Saturday, the Friends of Macomb Township, we're having our fundraiser for No Tap Bowling at Imperial Lanes, and all proceeds are going for scholarships for Macomb Township students. So pretty much have the bowlers set for Saturday, but we also have lots of raffle prizes that people can just come in and bid on. And the more money we raise on these raffles, the more scholarships we can provide. So, and give that plug.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Piper. Any other comments? I'd briefly echo Mr. DeBruin's comment. I've been on this board for, thanks. I think I'm on 18 years now, which is a little scary. I was a little young when I first started. It's a good board. I appreciate it. Decisions like tonight aren't easy to do. Sometimes we get them right, sometimes we get them wrong, but I think we make a pretty good faith effort at doing it the right way. So I appreciate all the effort and time everybody puts into it. All right, planning director comments. Mr. Box.
Nothing this evening.
All right, attorney comments.
No further comments.
All right, very good. With that, I'm entertaining a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. DeBruin. Is there support? Supported by Mr. Mazzara. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by saying nay. That motion carries. At 7:40, we stand adjourned.